Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So look, Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields. Looks like they're set to collide around July. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here. There are a lot of people saying that Shields is gonna defeat Marshall. And I don't think they understand who Savannah Marshall is. First of all, Savannah Marshall did defeat Clarissa Shields as an amateur. Okay, so that's something that matters. She's a two-time Olympian. That matters. Okay, but this is why I'm actually leaning. I'm leaning towards Savannah Marshall now to defeat Clarissa Shields, and I'm gonna explain why. A lot of people, I don't think they really understand just the breadth of experience that Savannah Marshall has, and I don't think they understand psychologically what that does to you when you fight somebody and you lose to them, and it's not a controversial loss. It's where you lose. Now, we can't dwell in the past or we'll miss out on future opportunities. And that's what Clarissa Shields has done. She's refused to dwell in the past, and that's why she's done so well as a professional boxer. Even crossing over to MMA, because she's very confident in her abilities and her athleticism. In addition, her aptitude to learn and be great in whatever she does, especially when it comes to combat sports. But this is the thing that I want to stress. I really want to underscore this. What's her name? Savannah Marshall. She was signed to Floyd Mayweather. She was signed to TMT, Floyd Mayweather Promotions, the money team. A lot of people don't realize that back in 2017 and 17, they signed her. She came over and lived in the States, in Vegas, and she trained for several fights. So she was training with Floyd Mayweather, training in the Floyd Mayweather gym, getting access to the best trainers, different people. She got to see different styles, different methodologies, different philosophies, different training techniques. What she received by signing with the money team was, I think, extremely beneficial to her. Being a fighter from the UK, coming off of with a European style that's highly effective. She's a hard hitter, but I think by her being over there, she picked up a few things. One is ring IQ. If you watch her in the ring, she has learned, and I think Peter Fury has helped her with this as well. She does a lot by not doing a lot. If you watch her movement in the ring, it reminds me a lot of Tyson Fury. But Peter Fury had a lot to do with Tyson Fury's development. That's why if you watch Savannah Marshall in the ring, and if you're familiar with Tyson Fury and how he boxes, she's a female Tyson Fury. She's tall like him, she's long like him, and she prods around the ring like him. She throws her jab like him, everything. Now, a lot of people have probably forgotten what Tyson Fury looks like when he's boxing, because his last 3 fights he fought against Deontay Wilder, and he wasn't boxing. He was holding his ground, standing flat-footed, and trying to KO Deontay Wilder. But go back and look at his fights where he's up on his toes and moving around. Savannah Marshall fights like Tyson Fury. She really does. But the thing about it is, Savannah Marshall, like I said, she does a lot by not doing a lot. Just her moving around the ring, her upper body movement, her footwork, flipping the jab out there, bringing it back, throwing a right hand, kind of throwing a hook, just kind of, testing the waters, seeing what the person bites on. Then out of nowhere, she throws a hard right hand, hard hook, hard body shot, hard jab to the body. Then she continues around just pitter-patting, tapping you, then hard. So she goes from soft to hard, changing up power. She changes levels, she changes her speed, and she changes her range. And that's what makes her highly effective. Not everything she throws is the kill shot. She's always looking to just make you uncomfortable, cutting the ring off, and just, taking her time with a lot of intelligence and smart pressure. That's something that I think is going to create, that's one of the things I think is going to create problems for Clarissa Shields. The other thing, Savannah Marshall is someone who will just chip away at you. Just chip away at you. You see this with a lot of different fighters. Floyd Mayweather was a guy who would kind of chip away at you and throw something hard. Chip away at you and come back, let his shots off. He wasn't always just sitting there trying to stand in front of you like Pretty Boy Floyd, blocking all your shots, catching all your shots, countering. The stuff Pretty Boy Floyd did was amazing. But he eventually evolved just due to hand issues, and he would just kind of chip away at you, chop you down, and then once he gets you hurt, gets you out of it. Most of the time the referee is starting to fight. But she has that style where she can just chip away at you. And I think that's going to create some issues for Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields is a front-footed fighter. I mean, she likes to come forward. Clarissa Shields doesn't fight that good going backwards. She doesn't fight that good off the ropes. She can, but she can't afford to allow Marshall to back her up. And that's what's going to happen. I think Marshall's going to back her up with that kind of plotting style, that lateral movement, that head movement, that body, that body movement, that turning, because she'll turn her body facing the right, and her left shoulder is facing her opponent, and she's jabbing. Well, this is the next thing I want to talk about that she does, and she does it great. Savannah Marshall hides her right hand. So when she's throwing that jab, she'll change speed on it, change levels, body to the head. When she comes up to the head, she throws it a couple of times, she's changing the speed on that. And it's not always for power, but she'll blind you. And as she makes her body as small as she can. And when she blinds you, she brings that right hand out of nowhere. And I am very confident she's going to be effective with that. The thing is, Shields can blunt that if Shields can keep her distance. Shields going to have to figure out a way to get in and out, and definitely move her head to close the distance on Savannah Marshall. If she can't do that, she's going to have trouble. That brings me to the next thing, is the power, the difference in power. Clarissa Shields is not a knockout artist. If you watch her fights, she hits girls, she buzzes girls, she gets their respect, but she's not knocking anybody out, especially out cold. She's not dropping anyone to the point to a person like, I'm not getting back up, I don't want to get hit again. She's in there, and I just think it's through attrition. She kind of wears some girls down to where the referee stops the fight, or the female's like, all right, enough is enough. But it's not necessarily that the impact of the punches, it's so powerful, so painful that girls are like, ooh, I don't want to be hit. I don't want to be hit by that again. With Savannah Marshall now, that's what she does. She knocks women out. Savannah Marshall is a hard hitter. And you have to give her the advantage when it comes to power. Now, when you got a fighter who hits hard, the thing about that is to just not get hit. And how do you do that? You got to be able to get in, get out, kind of counter punch. You got to be able to feel them out, see what they do. Some fighters have a rhythm. Savannah Marshall has a rhythm. It's not a normal rhythm. Her movement is hard to anticipate, hard to plan, hard to counter, and her range and her punch placement, up, down, she's in and out. She's changing, like I said, she's changing levels. She's in your chest, she's away, but she's so tall and so rangy. She's gonna have the reach advantage, and with that power, if she gets you on the end of those punches, she's going to hurt Shields. The one thing about Savannah Marshall that is downside, when she's letting her hands go, she has a tendency to throw wide punches. So does Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields is in love with her speed, and she's so fast. With previous opponents, she's been able to get away with sometimes throwing wide left hooks, wild overhand rights. But when she gets compact and small, like in Mantis Stanionis, who, when he punches, he stays disciplined. He's not throwing anything wild, and he's not wasting punches. But when Clarissa Shields fights tight, I think she's more effective. And she's going to have to fight tight against Savannah Marshall if she wants to have a chance of winning that fight. Because as soon as she gets wide with her punches, with Savannah Marshall's deceiving speed and just that herky jerky Tyson Fury kind of move body language, is going to create a huge problem for Clarissa Shields. Now, don't get me wrong, Clarissa Shields is probably, she may be the best boxer, female boxer, but problem is Savannah Marshall does a lot of things great. She has the experience with with Floyd Mayweather and being around all those trainers. She has the experience of being around the guy who trained Tyson Fury for all those years. Clarissa Shields doesn't have that. Yes, she has a great trainer. She's been around different trainers. She's in the boxing world. She's on that circuit where she can get the best training, the best guidance. She can get the best advice. She can get a lot of different hands on her to continue molding her, polishing her up, and just helping her to sustain what she feels she is as a self-proclaimed GOAT. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think she's had the type of coaching that Savannah Marshall has had. A lot of people don't realize she spent so much time with Floyd Mayweather and his team because he was signed to them. He couldn't get her fights. That's why they parted ways after several months. She returned back to the UK, hooked up with Peter Fury, and she just taken off. So what she got was a blessing, because if she would, being in the UK, she would have never had the opportunity to train with the Mayweather team, be in that facility, see all those different champions, be in that environment, something that just, births greatness. She wouldn't have been able to be there. She got to see different looks, different styles, box different fighters, and get different training. And then she was able to come back to the UK and get the European style, the Tyson Fury kind of philosophy, the style, the coaching that has benefited Tyson Fury so much and led him to going and winning and defeating Vladimir Klitschko, and the type of coaching that contributed to him defeating Deontay Wilder. Peter Fury deserves a lot of credit for what he's done for Tyson Fury and what he's done for Savannah Marshall. But it's not just Peter Fury that got Savannah Marshall to where she is. You got to give some credit to whatever training, experience, and what she was exposed to while living out of Vegas, signed to TMT, the money team on Floyd Mayweather Promotions. So we gotta really take that in consideration and give her the edge when it comes to that, because Clarissa Shields, I just don't think it can compare. The next thing is those long arms. Now, Clarissa Shields is the boxer. She's got the speed. She's going to be trying to come in and out. But in order for her to jab to the face or jab to the body, she's going to have to close the distance. And she's got the legs, she's got the speed to do it. But she's going to do that with the risk of getting caught with something coming in. She doesn't have the reach advantage. She's not going to be able to sit back and pick Savannah Marshall apart. These are facts. This isn't my opinion. She's not going to be able to do that. Now, she's got the speed, she's got the legs to pull it off. But for how long? For how long? Savannah Marshall is not an inexperienced fighter. She has a stellar amateur pedigree. She's a phenomenal pro. She's been with the best of trainers, and she's proven that in her professional career. So Shields isn't going to be able to come in and just do with her what she wants like she's done with other fighters. It's just not going to happen. So I'm curious to see what Shields is going to do, especially after that second round, the feeling out round, when she gets touched by Marshall and Shields realizes that, damn, I can't get out of her reach. I can't just come in like I want. What am I going to do? She's going to have to figure out some lateral movement. She's going to have this woman coming towards her with this weird Tyson Fury-ish kind of herky-jerky body movement, cutting the ring off, throwing shots at her, applying that mental pressure. And we got to see what Clarissa Shields is going to do. And that's going to be very interesting. The next thing is, and this is kind of a downside for Marshall, she's kind of predictable. When she starts to let those shots go, you can kind of see a mile. You can be a mile off, see where those shots are coming from. She kind of throws wide looping hooks, Her right hand sometimes can be a little slow. She does change the speed. She does throw it sometimes from a long distance. But her thing is, and this is what another thing where I give Savannah Marshall an advantage. Although she's doing that, Savannah Marshall, she keeps her chin tucked, but she keeps her eye on her opponent at all times. Sometimes Clarissa Shields will throw a hook, her whole body will turn. Her head's looking that way. The opponent's there. She can't make those kind of mistakes with Savannah Marshall. Clarissa Shields looks away because she throws a wild shot and misses, and her whole body turns. Marshall's going to counter her with something big and hurt her. And those are the worst shots to get hit with, the ones you don't see. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Savannah Marshall to capitalize on Clarissa Shields getting anxious. And when you do that, you make mistakes. You saw with Earl Spence last night. I don't care what he says. He got anxious in there, was trying to force the fight, force some shots. He got clipped with a right hand before he got his mouthpiece knocked out. So he was buzzed and buzzed hard. Then he came and got his mouthpiece knocked out because he was already loopy. He went walking to try to get his mouthpiece and almost got his ass knocked out. And if what's her name gets caught with something like that, Clarissa Shields, it could be game over because Savannah Marshall's not going to sit there and wait to see if she gets her mouthpiece or see if there's the lull in the action and recognize the lull in the action and decides to just stop and wait for the ref. She's going to jump on her and let her hands go. So that's the other thing that I think we need to be careful about. And then her predictability, those wide punches. And this is the other thing. This is basically, to me, it's going to be a Vernon Forrest versus Shane Mosley type of fight. And what I mean by that is Vernon Forrest defeated Shane Mosley in the amateurs. And of course, Shane Mosley was the guy with the big name. Like Clarissa Shields, she's the one with the bigger name. Shane Mosley was out here beating all these people. Talked about his speed, talked about his punching power. Clarissa Shields out here beating a lot of fighters. Talked about the speed, decent punching power. But when Shane Mosley got in there with Vernon Forrest was telling people, you can't see Mosley beating him because he knew something about Mosley. There was something he experienced when they fought in the as amateurs that he just felt like, this guy can't handle my style. Look at the dimensions. Shane Mosley was shorter. Clarissa Shields shorter. Vernon Forrest much taller. Savannah Marshall much taller. Shane was quicker. Clarissa Shields is quicker. Savannah Marshall is taller. I mean, she's got speed, but she's not that fast. But she's accurate. Vernon Forrest, same thing. Tall, not super fast, but he had speed. He was accurate. You could say that Shane Mosley hit hard, but he didn't hit as hard as Vernon Forrest. Because Vernon Forrest would keep you on the end of his punches. That snap on the punches where the power is. That's what hurts the opponents. Savannah Marshall keeps you on the end of her punches. That's where that snap comes from. That's where she hurts her opponents and gets them out of there. You can't help but just, understand and recognize the similarities between Shane Mosley, Vernon Forrest, Clarissa Shields, and Savannah Marshall. Also, which fighter is well known? Well, Shane Mosley, not Vernon Forrest. But Vernon Forrest clipped him, that bubbled him right up. People in the boxing world knew who he was, but outside of that, casual fans didn't know who he was. After he beat Shane Mosley, he beat him twice. Vernon Forrest was out of there. He was in a whole nother stratosphere. With Savannah Marshall, I think that's what's going to happen too. You got Clarissa Shields, a huge name, known internationally. Everyone knows who she is. Especially now she moved to the MMA world. Everyone knows who she is. Now if Savannah Marshall comes and she clips her, everyone's going to know who she is. And so I just think it is just a real good opportunity for Savannah Marshall, but it's also a good opportunity for Clarissa Shields to come and show everybody like you're wrong. But when you look at it, and this is just being fair, man. I'm not biased. I just have to give Savannah Marshall. I got to give the edge to her. I really do. I just don't see Clarissa Shields being able to do anything with Savannah Marshall because I don't think she's gonna be able to hurt her. I think she's gonna be able to land some shots, but I just think with that style that Savannah Marshall has, that reach, the fact that she's had training out there, in Las Vegas with all those boxing aficionados associated with Mayweather and other promotional teams, just the fact she was in that environment, in that world, getting that training, that just gives her a huge advantage. The fact that she was able to come back, be around Peter Fury and those great professionals out there, the people he was able to touch and turn into champions, that gives her a huge advantage. Clarissa Shields, she hasn't experienced that. And the last thing, which is probably the most important, is Clarissa Shields is going out there to fight in the UK. So she's already down on the scorecards, if you know what I mean. It is what it is, man. Hey, the people out there in England, man, they love their fighters. Everybody loves Savannah Marshall, man. They love their fighters. When Clarissa Shields comes out there, she's going to have a tough time. I just hope there's not going to be any of the buffoonery like what you find sometimes like the football games with the hooligans and how sometimes things get a little nasty, you know. Sometimes people with the alcohol gets in them, you know, sometimes they say some really harsh things. I hope that Clarissa Shields doesn't experience that. I think for the most part, majority of people are very decent. They respect athletes, they respect the women, and they respect Clarissa Shields and what she brings to the table. She has a lot of fans because the English fans know about sports, and you better believe they know about their fighters, and they know the challenge that Savannah Marshall's up against facing Clarissa Shields. But don't get me wrong, Clarissa Shields has the goods to get in there and do the job and, you know, come on back as the undisputed middleweight champion. But I just have a feeling when I look at it on paper in the black and white, hey man, I just got to give Savannah Marshall the edge. They call her the silent assassin for a reason. She doesn't say much. She's kind of shy. But when she gets in the ring, she has a kind of shy, quiet, Tyson Fury-ish kind of style. But when she lets her hands go, there's nothing quiet about that. She talks with her hands, and she has dynamite in those hands. And I just think it's going to be a tough fight for Clarissa Shields. She's not going to be able to get in there and do to Savannah Marshall what Earl Spence did to Yugas, what Earl Spence did to Kell Brook, what Earl Spence did, to, you know, even to Sean Porter. You know, Earl Spence did to Danny Garcia. Just overwhelm you, outwork you, speed, IQ, skills, and power. Clarissa Shields has a few of those attributes, but the power is, I think, going to be the deciding factor because Shields not going to be able to keep her off of her. Shields will get tired, and then I think Savannah Marshall is just going to come out there and eventually catch Shields because Shields is going to get anxious, and it's going to be to her detriment. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Please, I'd appreciate it. Shout out to all the veterans, and as always, I'm in the breeze.